y'all, it's your girl Roxie with Roxiie Says, and we're going to talk about it. Today, we are here to review Married at First Sight After Party for episode 15. Okay, a lot happened, a lot more was exposed and discussed, so we got to get right into it. But before we do, please don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you're made aware every time I post a new video. And I just have to say thank you all so much for all of the love that y'all showed on my last Married at First Sight review. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Even those of us who disagree, I still appreciate you, all right? So let's get right into this episode. We are here with Camille, Michelle, and astrologer Elliot Lee, and later we're going to chill with MM and Jonathan as well, all right? So we all know our host, Keisha Knight Pulliam, does an amazing job every single time. So we're here with Camille and Michelle, but a little bit about Elliot. She is a clinical social worker and astrologer, and she specializes in using astrology as a tool for self and relationship empowerment and growth, okay? And she's also pregnant with her first child, so congratulations to her, right? So Keisha says that her and her husband actually used astrology to decide their wedding date and to make sure that ain't nothing was in retrograde, okay? Because they don't want anything messing up the mood or the day. So Elliot is very excited to be there for such a juicy and spicy episode where everyone was showing out, as we all saw, okay? So after all the small talk is over, they get started. I will say that instead of Camille, Juan, and MM, I would have preferred Allan, Madison, and David to be there. You know, mix them up in different segments if you had to, but I would have definitely liked to hear them explain what the hell happened in that episode. But maybe they wanted the perspectives of people who were on the outside looking in, so they chose who they chose, okay? So when Keisha asks Michelle what her intentions were for even going on the retreat, she says that her intention was to get to the bottom of things because she knew that David was lying. So Camille says that her and Tom were actually woken up out of their sleep due to all of the drama because Allan was downstairs banging shit up, okay? So Keisha gets to the first clip where Michelle expresses her disappointment with Madison walking away and dismissing her at the dinner table. And Michelle says that she was very upset in the moment because both Madison and David were shutting her down. Camille does say that looking back, she now sees how not speaking up did come off as picking a side during that conversation, but that was not her intention. She said that she just wanted to be quiet and listen to what everyone was saying instead of interjecting. So Elliot says that watching David's lies constantly transform was very cringy, and regardless of how she felt in the marriage, no one deserves the runaround and disrespect that Michelle got. And Keisha adds to that and says that Michelle definitely didn't expect for her friend to be running around getting eaten up by her husband, okay? But we're gonna get back to that, don't you worry. So Keisha asks Camille about the conversation that her and Tom had about having children, and Camille said that she was not expecting Tom to even ask that question because the conversations were very light throughout the day. So she was surprised, but she appreciated the conversation because it's always great to confirm that they're on the same page, especially with such an important topic. And Camille says that she feels like she was put on this earth to be a mother, so she welcomed the conversation with Tom. And Elliot reassures Camille, and she tells her that her chart actually shows that she is going to be an amazing mother, and Tom actually wants to be a protector and a cycle breaker, and he wants to release and heal that past pain and disappointment of his childhood through creating a stable family unit of his own, which I also believe for both Tom and Camille, all right? So next we see the clip of Michelle pressing Madison about the text messages where Madison's response to the text was, oh, it shouldn't have been me, right? We all remember that. And Michelle says that in the moment she was pissed because she considered Madison to be a friend, and she had previously confided in Madison about a lot of things that she now feels that Madison was running back and telling David. Can you imagine venting to your friend about your man, and as soon as you and your friend hang up the phone, said friend is calling your man or pillow talking with your man about what you said? Everything you said? Baby, baby. But Michelle also says that part of her felt vindicated and validated because prior to that, she was actually trying to talk herself out of her suspicions because she didn't want to end up looking crazy. But as soon as Madison answered her question the way that she did, she knew that she needed to trust her gut and press forward. And Camille jumps in and agrees that Madison's answer was absolutely crazy because she says she would be straight up offended if Michelle asked her something wild like that. And her response would be, girl, absolutely not. Hell no. What are you even asking me? So Elliot says that Madison's reaction actually gave flattery. She says that if you watch the clip back, it's almost like Madison was like, me? Like you You really think it was for me? It shouldn't have been for me, but I mean, I like the idea that it was for me. And she says that she feels like the thought of the text being for Madison made Madison feel really good inside because it was a bit of confirmation that David also feels the way that she feels about him. I said, okay, Elliot, I like you. I like this girl because I think that that's exactly what it is. Then they play the clip of Madison showing Michelle her phone after she deleted all of those text messages. And Keisha was thinking what we were all thinking, okay? Oh, now you don't have any text messages? How convenient. And they all laughed about what horrible liars both David and Madison are. Because how you gonna tell Michelle that y'all text about the gym, show her your phone with no messages at all, not even any messages about the gym, and then get mad at Michelle because you exposed yourself? Girl gone. Girl gone. And it was pissing Michelle off because even in that moment, she was talking to Madison very calmly and trying to remain respectful when she knew damn well that Madison was lying to her face. So then we see the clip of the producer going to chat with Madison where he asks her if there's any truth to what Michelle is implying, and she's trying to play the victim, okay? And Michelle says that at that point, she had been talking about David's text messages for weeks. 4 weeks. So if the intention on both David and Madison's part was to never hurt anyone, then why didn't they come clean earlier? This is what Michelle is saying on the show. And that's exactly what I said as well. And to add to that, why couldn't Madison tell Allan herself? Why did David have to do it? And if David is such a great guy and Michelle is the only bad guy in this, why couldn't David go to his buddy Allan earlier? And later we're going to hear Juan talk about how close David and Allan actually were, all right? But for now, forget Michelle, okay? Forget Michelle. Michelle is the worst person on earth, so forget her. She was mean to David, okay? So if David said he want to run her over with a damn bus, according to some of y'all, that is okay because she deserves it, all right? So forget Michelle, but David saw his good friend, his good friend Allan. He went out for drinks with him. They hung out together. He smiled in his face, and he was still messing with his wife. So for this example, we can ride with David did Michelle wrong because she was a big meanie to him and she hurt his feelings and he just couldn't take it. So she deserves whatever she got. What's the excuse that y'all are going to give him for doing Allan wrong? His friend. Because we all love Allan, okay? We all love Allan. So what is the justification for David doing Allan wrong? What's that justification? I'm just curious. Did Michelle make David do Allan wrong too? I just want to know. But this does speak to not only how David handles his romantic relationships, but also his friendships. The same David who put his own cousin in this mess to cover his own ass. But again, just like his boo Madison, he has to be backed into a corner before he finally tells the truth. Okay, that's the David we talking about. So Michelle reiterates that they both had weeks to say something. This didn't all just come about during the retreat. But wait, there's more, because Michelle says that she did another thing that we didn't see on camera. She asked Madison to search David's name in her text messages. I wish you also told Madison to open up that deleted folder as well, okay? But anyways, she says when she searched David's name, a whole bunch of David this and David that conversations came up. So she was clearly texting her friends and other people about David too. And right away, Madison cleared out of the search immediately. So Michelle asked her, why did you clear out of it so fast? And Madison's response was, well, I'm sure you talk shit about me to your friends. And Michelle was like, no, I don't. I have no reason to talk shit about you. But either way, that's a false equivalency, Madison, because for that to even make sense, then it should be Michelle's name in your phone, not Michelle's husband's name in your phone, Madadum. Come on, girl, make it make sense. So Elliot gives Michelle props for her investigative skills and for also managing her emotions during this process. And I agree, because to have two people running around lying to your face and trying to make you think that you're crazy is definitely grounds for getting quite a bit upset. And like I said, Madison only offered to bring the phone down after she already had time to delete everything, all right? So Elliot said David, the good guy, right? The one who only does wrong if someone makes him do it because he doesn't have to be responsible for any of his own actions. That David, Elliot says that he was just like, you ain't gonna see my phone at all. Elliot had me cracking up in this episode. I cannot lie, all right? So next we see the clip of the skit that Madison and David put on. You know, the one where they pretend pretended to reveal their feelings for each other for the very first time ever, and Madison acted like she never received that text or any text of the sort. Yeah, that little skit, child. Someone in the comments called it a skit, and when I tell you I was cracking up for like 2 minutes straight. Because that's what it was giving, a rehearsed skit. So Michelle says that in that little scene, it showed her what a joke the both of them were, because they were pretending to be shocked as if they hadn't already been flirting back and forth, or as if they never had a conversation like this. And Michelle says that that's what was hurtful, them laughing about it, right? Yes, you don't have all these feelings for David, but then for y'all to be laughing about it like it's a joke, that's not cool. So child, Elliot says, well, I read David's birth chart, and she says that he is a Gemini moon. So she's very shocked that we haven't seen peaks of his Gemininity. Okay, she didn't use that word. That's just a word I made up. But she is very shocked that we didn't see his true colors even sooner. And apparently he's also a Leo sun, moon, and Mercury, child, whatever that means. And someone with his chart needs a lot of constant admiration, affirmation, and attention. What did I say? What did I say? Don't give David the attention that he needs for 48 hours. You try it and see what happens. Madison, you try it and see what happens, okay? And to add to that, as we know, David is surrounded by a lot of women in his family, right? He said that, and we saw it in the very first episode. And I can only imagine how much they baby and coddle David. He is used to that constant attention, and he lives in his mama's basement, okay? She probably be coming downstairs talking about, you need anything, David? Washing his clothes, cooking his food, praising him for the bare minimum. All of that. He is used to that constant praise. And another thing, remember how annoyed I was in one of my previous reviews, for those of you who saw it, at David's mother for telling Michelle that she's gonna need to be the one to make David stop smoking? As if this man is not in control of his own actions and decisions. Remember, I was like, well, mama, if you beat cancer, right, and that wasn't enough for David to stop smoking, how is it now on Michelle to make David stop smoking? Make this man be responsible for his own actions, please. Anyway, Elliot also says that Madison and David's chart are actually very compatible physically. So she's not surprised at all that they're attracted to each other, but she's not sure how it'll play out emotionally in the long run. And Keisha also says that they're just in a really hot and heavy phase, but marriage takes a lot more than just physical connection, which we obviously all know. But speaking of connection on the physical, we already know that David's type is a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes, preferably, right? But let's see what Madison's type might actually be. So here is a photo. Here is a photo of Madison's brother-in-law on top of a photo of David. Do you notice any similarities? You think that all the sisters have the same type, okay? Do you think that Madison has been looking at her sisters, man? I'm gonna just leave that there for a second. Okay, moving on. So since this has all come out, Keisha asks Michelle if anything sticks out to her now about David that she didn't necessarily catch before. And she says, one night they all went out, all the girls, and one of Madison's friends came as well. And Camille, Michelle, and MM, they all left together. But David wanted to stay back with Madison and her friend. And Keisha realizes that this was very early on in the relationship. And I'm like, yeah, Keisha, because these two were messing around, or at least showing interest in each other, since the honeymoon, okay? Since the honeymoon. So next we see the scene of David finally telling the truth to Michelle about the text message, where he continues to blame Michelle as well, as if Michelle took David's fingers and sent those text messages to other women talking about he can't wait to eat them up, okay? Let me also say this, because I know a lot of y'all are new and maybe you haven't seen my previous reviews. Baby, the way that I would get into Michelle's ass in damn near every review, because I did not like at all the way that she was speaking to David, okay? So don't think that this is a Michelle stan page or a David hate page or anything like that. I'm just able to acknowledge when someone is wrong, they're wrong, and when they're right, they're right. I don't watch reality TV with the sense of, I like this person, so they can do no wrong in my eyes. I don't care what they do. It don't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter. I like them, and I hate this person, so I don't care what anyone does to them. You could do whatever you want to do. I don't care because I don't like them. That's just not how I get down. My opinion is going to change based on new information gathered throughout the season. I could love you episode 1, hate you by episode 2, and then I'm warming back up up to you by episode 3. It just depends on the situation and what's going on. Just want to make that clear. I still think that Michelle was talking to David crazy, but if David wanted to pursue someone else, he should have just broken it off with Michelle instead of sneaking around behind her back. All right. So moving on, Keisha points out that this apology that David gave Michelle was not heartfelt at all. And Michelle actually says that David was going to walk right past her. And that's why she had to say, hello, do you have something that you want to say to me? He wasn't going to say anything to her. And she says that this is right after he had spoken with Allan, and Allan flipped out, as we all saw. Okay. So Michelle says that she was standing there waiting for David, and he really tried to walk past her. He still wasn't going to admit it. And I said, yikes. I said, yikes. And as we can see, even when they did have the conversation, David was annoyed and he was trying to blow Michelle off. And Michelle definitely felt hurt by that. So Camille says that she even had to go to David and get him together a bit and tell him that he owed Michelle an apology for all of the lying and covering up that he did in this situation. Like, take some accountability. And Elliot says that this is his shadowy energy with duality, where David can say one thing and do the complete opposite with ease, which is what we all seen. And it's also his ego that's so turned up to a point where he feels like he owes no one anything. All that matters is what he feels. Okay. And I also feel like even if David didn't want to apologize to Michelle, right? Because he's like, I don't know her apology. She doesn't really care anyway. You couldn't even be man enough to just dump her. You still couldn't dump her? Nothing? You couldn't even break up with her, David? At least Akechi came to MM with that one sheet of paper in that green folder that he stole from one of his students. If Akechi could do it, David, you could do it. Damn. So Michelle says that she still has a lot of questions because she's still curious about how long this has been going on, despite their little,
we just started liking each other today. We didn't even know that we had these feelings. Oh my God, where did these feelings come from?
which I might add was worse and even less believable than that ad that Carla and Juan did for ADT, okay? But Michelle does feel validated because she was right and she wasn't just stirring up drama. And let me also say this, because I saw people in the comments saying that Michelle wasn't soft enough with bringing this news to Allan. Did y'all miss the multiple times where Allan himself said that he knew from day 2 that Madison didn't want him? That Madison looked at him with disgust? Did y'all miss that part? Because some people are acting as if Allan just was completely oblivious to Madison's feelings towards him, okay? And that's why I did have to tug on Allan's wig a little bit in my review, because Allan had full opportunity as well to end this relationship with Madison the same way Madison should have ended it with him. As much as I don't like Madison, the responsibility should not have only been on her to end the relationship, okay? Because Allan did say, I told her, whenever you're not feeling me, just let me know. But Allan, you yourself also knew that she wasn't feeling you, and I wish that you wanted more for yourself because you are such a sweetheart, such an amazing guy. I want you to be able to recognize when you're too good for someone and walk away from that as well, okay, Allan? Because you are just a sweetie pie. You really are. But I do hope that you learned from this, and now you can pick up on the signs. If you're with another woman and she's giving you that Madison energy, dump her immediately. Dump her immediately. Don't put it on her and say, when you don't want me, you can break up with me. You dump her immediately when you see that your feelings are not being reciprocated. Notice I said dump her. Don't cheat on her like your friend David. End the relationship and start a new relationship, okay? That's what we talking about over here. But like I was saying, Michelle planted a seed that needed to be planted. The seed needed to be planted because Allan was going to continue in this relationship with Madison, okay? But after she did plant the seed and Allan sat back with himself and replayed things in his head, he knew what was up. And I think that it's quite possible to still keep your burning hatred for Michelle and still acknowledge that Michelle isn't the one who hurt Allan. David and Madison are the ones who hurt Allan, okay? You can still hate Michelle, baby. You can still hate her with all your heart, but you can still acknowledge that Michelle didn't do anything to Allan. It's actually the actions of David and Madison. That is what had Allan in that kitchen crying, okay? Whether Michelle told him, production told him, or someone else told him, the control in this experiment causing Allan's pain is still David and Madison, okay? All right, just want to make sure that we got that handled. Anyway, Keisha acknowledges all of the lessons that Michelle has learned during this experience, and she says that this will make it easier for her to find her partner in the future. Only time will tell, all right? So it is now time for the MM and Juan segment, and we see the clip of Juan and Carla making their little pottery, okay, with all of those sexual innuendos that Juan was making. And she asks Juan if it helped with their sexual chemistry at all. When y'all left this little pottery date, you know, were juices flowing? How were things going? And Juan says that it definitely helped to lighten the mood, and it was a sweet and intimate moment. I think it was a cute moment, but we know that Juan is a jokester, so I really don't think that he meant anything by any of the comments that he made. He was just playing around like he does all the damn time, all right? Because one thing we know about Juan, if he is not giving you a Lucky Charm speech when you're trying to feel your feelings, he's gonna be making a joke. It's one or the other. That's Juanathan for you. So Elliot says that Juan actually has Taurus in his chart, which makes him a very tactical person who likes to build and touch things. So she was surprised to see that he wasn't that touchy-feely with Carla. And I'm like, hold on, Elliot, hold on. Juanathan is touchy-feely. He is very touchy-feely. He says that in the past, he has always been quick to jump in the bedroom, okay? And he's trying to do things differently this time. But don't get it twisted. Juan be taking the ladies down, okay? He just doesn't feel that attraction to Carla. But don't sleep on Juanathan. Don't sleep on Juanathan. And Keisha is like, well, damn, it sucks because I can really see how both you and Carla could work if you would only get out of your head. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't take all of that. And I truly believe that the feeling is mutual between Juan and Carla. They aren't feeling each other like that. And that is okay. I think that they definitely made some type of agreement to just ride this thing out and stay out of the drama for as long as they can so they can collect their little check and go home, okay? So they played the clip of the game that was played when Juan answered that he thinks that David would be the one most likely to cheat. So Keisha asks Juan why he picked David, and Juan claims that it just might have been his intuition telling him something about David, but I also think that maybe Juan saw it for himself. Remember, Juan and David did spend a lot of time together during the honeymoon. It's possible that David opened up to Juan about it, and it's also possible that Carla told Juan about Madison and David disappearing on that night that text message was sent. And Juan and MM both say that David and Madison actually wrote themselves down for that question as well. So they were pretty much telling on themselves during the game. And Elliot said that people think that they look less suspicious when they own something. Remember, Tom wrote his own name down too. And I said, Camille, keep your eye on Thomas, okay? Keep your eye on him. We also know that a couple of people said that MM would be the one most likely to swap partners, but she says that she didn't take any offense to that at all because she knows that they all know that that is not how she gets down, so it was just a joke to her. Side note, when are these after parties filmed? Because MM is wearing an engagement ring, and I know that is not the ring that Akechi gave to her. I know she is not wearing that ring still. So I think that MM is engaged, okay? And if she is, congratulations to her. So she says that after Akechi came with the piece of paper, she was mentally over the marriage and she just wanted to enjoy the rest of the retreat and still see the process through without allowing Akechi's actions to affect her peace. And I do love that MM stayed in the house. I do love that she stayed with her friends and she didn't leave because of Akechi, because his goal was to ruin her experience. And Elliot also says that it was very obvious that Akechi's intentions were to humiliate MM as opposed to truly seeking peace in their marriage. Because like I said, if that was truly his intention, he would have done it in a completely different way and in a more private setting, okay? So next they show the clip of when Michelle was in the kitchen laying everything out for Allan and painting the picture of what was possibly going on between Madison and David. And both MM and Juan say that this scene was so heartbreaking because Allan was completely oblivious and he fully thought that he was going through this process with someone who wanted to do this with him. And I'm sorry, I have to say, was he though? We heard Allan say that he knew Madison didn't want to be with him. So I'm sorry, I love Allan, but I cannot sit here and say he was completely oblivious. Was he oblivious to his friend David messing around with his wife? 1,000%. 1,000%. But did he know that there was also a chance that Madison was creeping around on him? I can't say no. She was coming home at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? She was looking at him with disgust. She already told him that she doesn't find him attractive. She doesn't like his teeth. She doesn't like his clothes. So I can't say that Allan was completely oblivious to anything other than his best friend sneaking around with his wife, okay? And it doesn't make it any less hurtful. I'm just putting it out there, all right? I know we all love Allan, but baby, if Allan was about to go forward with Madison, I'm gonna need him to go see the lady. I'm gonna need him to go see the lady, because why were you willing to accept that, Allan? You're a great guy. You should not be with someone like Madison, all right? So Elliot says that you can actually see everything clicking in Allan's mind, and it was really heartbreaking for her to watch the scene as well. And both Keisha and Elliot point out that Michelle did try to break the news to Allan with tact, sensitivity, and tenderness because she saw how it was affecting him. And Juan says, I know that this is a serious moment, but I just have to make a joke right now. And I'm like, Juan, I'm like, Jonathan, jeez. But he says that Allan was the one cooking the food, and he's like, we ate all that energy. He says Allan was in the kitchen, he was chefing it up, he was pouring stuff, mixing stuff, and all of that negative energy was being put into the food that they had to eat that night. And I'm like, Juan, he's right though. He's right, but Juan, shut up. Shut up. I cannot stand Jonathan sometimes. I really can't. But he also says that what people didn't see, which makes the situation even worse, is that Allan and David have the closest relationship out of everyone on the cast. Out of everyone, okay? And they spent the most time together. And he also says that Allan is a very loyal and trustworthy person. He will always be there for you. He said, if you call Allan at 3 o'clock in the morning and you like, yo, Allan, I need you to bail me out of jail. It's $20,000. Allan will find that money and he will bail you out of jail. And that is the type of friend that David over. That's your boy, okay? So next they play the clip of David breaking the news to Allan, and Keisha says it gives more context knowing that they actually did share a friendship. And is annoyed because she felt like in this conversation, David spent so much time trying to defend himself as opposed to apologizing, which doesn't make for a good apology. And Keisha is mocking David like, and you know, you my friend and all, and I know I'm messing around with your wife, but it's only because she knows me more than my own wife knows me. So, you know, I had to mess around with your wife. That's pretty much David's excuse. My wife was mean to me, so I started messing with your wife. Okay. And Jonathan actually says, I need to apologize to Michelle because I wasn't really feeling her in the beginning. I felt like she didn't know how to have fun. I felt like she was too serious. She was too uptight. But now looking back, Juan says that he honestly feels like that was Michelle's intuition protecting her from David. I said, wow, Jonathan, that's a word, Jonathan. Okay. When he gets serious, he gets serious, all right? And he says that she was right about David from the very beginning. So Elliot also points out that one thing that she noticed about David throughout the relationship, throughout the season with Michelle, every time she tried to have a conversation with him, he would just be laid back and slouching, no matter the type of conversation it was, no matter how serious it was, and it shows detachment. And this is the same thing that I noticed when David was speaking to Madison. Remember when Madison was pouring her feelings out for the very first time ever? He was slouched. He looked annoyed. Madison, you're not going to get treated any better than Michelle, okay? Or any of David's exes, because what David does has more to do with him than with anyone else. He's going to blame you for what he does. Don't get me wrong, he's going to blame you for it, but at the end of the day, it's a David issue. It's not a Michelle issue. It's not a Madison issue. It's not an Allan issue. It's not a her, him, her issue. It's a David issue, okay? So now it is time for the do-over session, and Keisha asks Juan, how could have David broken the news to his friend, his buddy, Allan, differently if he had a do-over? And Juan is like, look, I've been in a similar situation because one of my friends was dating this girl and I found her to be very attractive and I wanted to date her too. I said, Jonathan, what? What? Yo, what are you talking about, Jonathan? That's why I be calling you Jonathan, because some of the stuff that you say, Juan is not enough, okay? Juan just doesn't cut it. So he says, look, I called my friend up and I let him know I want to pursue your girlfriend. He said, I want to pursue your girl, okay? But I just wanted to check with you first to see if it was okay. So Juan, this couldn't have been like a real girlfriend. Obviously not a wife, right? Maybe she was just like a girl who you and your friends was just, you know, passing around, playing Ring Around the Rosie with and just all having a good time with. Because I know you did not call your man over his actual girlfriend, boo, or wife, right? Child, but the point that Juan is making is that man to man, he didn't sneak around behind his friend's back. He went right to his friend like a man should, okay? Directly, and he let him know what it was, unlike David did, because he acknowledges, like I also said in my review, we are all human. We're going to be attracted to people other than our partner. We're going to find other people attractive. It's natural, but there's a better way to go about things in the situation. No one is saying that David is not allowed to hate Michelle because she treated him like shit. No one is saying that. Everyone acknowledges that Michelle was a bitch to David. The issue lies with David not cutting ties with Michelle before pursuing someone else. Very simple. Wash your hands completely of Michelle the biatch and then go mess with whoever you want to mess with, right? Okay. Then they play the clip of Allan blowing up and and Juan trying to calm him down. And says that she was completely shocked during that moment and she just wanted to give Allan her support. And Juan says that he's been blessed with the gift of a bit of therapy before this experience. So he was just trying to coach Allan with what he has learned over the years. And I'm like, yeah, Juan, that toxic positivity, okay? But he says that it was registering to him how much work Allan had put into this relationship and how he was buying clothes and getting Invisalign, and he was doing everything to make it work with Madison. And Keisha says that when you need to make it work in so many ways, that means that this person is not your person. So Keisha asks Elliot what she would have done in that situation, and Elliot says that she pretty much would have done the same thing that they did by allowing him to vent, but also trying to contain his anger. So we end the segment with them saying that they made sure that Allan made it home safe, and he did check in with them the next morning. And that was the end of the after party episode. Make sure you let me know all of your thoughts below, okay? A lot more was discussed during these two segments. I cannot wait to hear your opinions below. I know y'all gonna have them. Before you leave, don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you hit that notification bell. I will be posting reviews for Ready to Love, Traitors, and Love is Blind. Whew, give me some time. I'm gonna get to it. And I cannot wait to see y'all in my next video. Bye!
Roxiie says we're gonna talk about